Welcome to the Weekly Dose Podcast, your one-stop shop for the weekly news in incretin mimetic therapies, with your host, ManOnMounjaro, Dave Knapp.
Welcome to the Weekly Dose Podcast for the week of Tuesday, March 19th, 2024. I'm Dave Knapp, ManOnMounjaro. That's why I'm here. You are on the pen. That's why you're here. Wegovy, Saxenda, Victoza, Trulicity, Mounjaro, Zepbound, that pen. And we're excited to share with you some news from this past week. That's what we do on this show. We give you a weekly rundown of the world of incretin mimetic therapies, included but not limited to GLP-1 and GIP medications, pipeline medications, and generally the news that affects you, the people who use it or are interested in it. Without further ado, let's get into this week's edition. With some interesting news from Eli Lilly. And essentially what we have here is Eli Lilly partnering with Amazon Pharmacy to help fulfill orders through Lilly Direct. Now, let's talk a little bit about what this means and what it doesn't mean. So I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about this, and it's mainly people thinking that they can now go to Amazon Pharmacy and get these medications. While that is true, that is not new news. I've been getting Mounjaro from Amazon Pharmacy off and on for well over a year now. Zepbound has been there for some time. What this partnership does is it actually helps people who are going through Lilly Direct and working with their partner telemedicine company to fulfill their medication. So once the script gets processed through the Lilly Direct system, it will just come to them via Amazon Pharmacy as the fulfillment center for the medication. This really has a minimal impact on people using Lilly Direct or Amazon Pharmacy or the general supply at large. This just helps people to maybe get their orders a little bit more efficiently through Eli Lilly Direct, which again is not like getting your medicine hot off the presses from Eli Lilly. No, it's just a connecting point that Eli Lilly has through their website of connecting you to telemedicine. That telemedicine connects you to the prescription when necessary, and then Lilly Direct fills that prescription through the pharmacies of their choosing. So that is how that works through Lilly Direct with the Amazon partnership. I hope that clears up maybe some misunderstandings that some people have had about this partnership. But all the news this week is focused around the issue of the supply of Mounjaro and Zepbound, specifically as it relates to the single dose vials. Now, I'm going to get into that in just a minute, but before that, I want to tell you that tonight, which is Monday night, there was a special airing of basically a expose on obesity medicine and obesity and the shame and stigma that goes around with obesity that was hosted by Oprah on ABC. I did watch this. I will have a reaction video to it at some point. Perhaps we'll discuss this on OnThePen this week. But know that took place this week. It was a very interesting conversation, but the timing of it couldn't be worse. You're facing shortages in literally every GLP-1 or incretin mimetic therapy that is on the market. People are messaging me daily, telling me that they're having to drive 45 minutes, an hour and a half, 3 hours in some cases to find their medicine. The absolute anxiety-inducing hunt for the medicine every month that patients on these medications are having to do is absolutely ridiculous. And it does beg the question that what this yo-yoing on the different dosages or taking long periods of breaks from these medicines and then trying to find a dose that you can take again, what is that actually doing to people? How is that helping or hurting people? It's a conversation that definitely needs to take place. And obviously, this special that Oprah aired shines a massive light on these medications and will increase people's interest and desire to take them. So how that affects the supply, which is already strained moving forward, that's a part that is concerning to me. And on that note, I want to talk to you a little bit. It deviates a little bit from the normal pattern of the show, which is typically news. I don't typically opine much, but I want to make an impassioned plea to Eli Lilly. So let me tell you all about the single dose vials, why I think that they will play an important and critical role in keeping the supply of tirzepatide steady for patients over the coming year. So single-dose vial presentations were approved by the FDA in the fall of 2023. They were launched in ex-US markets. So the markets that they're currently available in would be Canada and Australia. Both facing shortages. I understand that because I'm sure that I'm going to hear about potential shortages of the API. But we do know, for sake of this conversation, that the manufacturing of these pens is extremely inefficient when compared to filling single-dose vial presentations of this medication. So let's just talk about how Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly are handling these shortages differently, and why I think that Lilly has built in a parachute here, and I would plea for them to pull that ripcord. So Novo Nordisk stopped making the starter doses of Wegovy when Wegovy went into an insurmountable shortage. They calculated that it was better for the company to stop people from getting on the platform, on the medication, and to serve existing patients. I think this is a commendable decision. Even if ultimately the motives were that it was a better business decision, this was also a decision that was better for patients. I think that this was maybe not the best business move, honestly, because getting more people on the platform long-term could potentially have been a better outcome for Novo Nordisk. Who knows? But it's not an obvious choice, right? I think it's ethically commendable that Novo Nordisk decided to serve the patients that were on the medicine, because we don't know. We don't have clinical trials that show what bouncing back and forth between doses on these medications do. We have clinical trials that show a very steady titration process. I think that their decision to serve the patients already on the medication was ethically commendable. I don't know that it was great for their business. I don't know that that was the best business decision in hindsight. I think time will tell, but I think it was a commendable decision. The lack of manufacturing capacity, the lack of maybe forecasting the popularity of Wegovy and Ozempic certainly played into this, and it forced the company into some really tough decisions. And I think ethically they chose correctly to serve their existing patients. Lilly had the unique advantage of watching this problem unfold with Novo Nordisk, and has done and taken massive steps in expanding capacity to try to foresee it and stay out ahead of it. However, they're facing the same issue that Novo Nordisk had, where there's an unprecedented demand for the drug and a massive inability to meet that demand, at least in the near term. Having seen all this, you saw Eli Lilly move through the FDA the single-dose vial presentation of the medicine, which is now approved in the United States. They built in a parachute. So when this thing came crashing down to the earth, they had a ripcord that they could potentially pull that would keep people on the medication. And that is these single-dose vials. Now, I understand, Eli Lilly, that splittable single-dose vials, when all of the dosages of these medications are the same price, doesn't immediately make business sense. But I know that at some point it will, because at some point it's better to serve the patients with what you can get them on than to turn them away. I'm not sure when that threshold hits, but I would implore you not to wait until it does, because people are hurting. People on these medications need access to continue therapy. They ought not be subject to this yo-yo of dosing, of lack of accessibility and extended periods of time off the medicine and back on the medicine. These were not things that were clinically trialed. And if that matters, it matters that you built in a parachute, and it matters that you pull it for the sake of the patients on the medication. I think Eli Lilly also has to consider CagriSema in the picture, that CagriSema will be coming. And this should encourage Eli Lilly to keep people on the platform of tirzepatide and keep them from looking in other directions. High dose Semaglutide is just around the corner. I think there are business cases to be made that the ripcord should not be pulled at the last possible second. Now is the time. It makes business sense, and it makes sense for the patients that are on this medication. Listen, this is an arms race. This is a GLP-1 arms race, and right now, Eli Lilly seems to be winning. Novo Nordisk has made some moves with the acquisition of Catalent, but Eli Lilly has made headway in expanding their own internal manufacturing capacity, much more so than Novo Nordisk did, who is arguably a couple years behind on the manufacturing side. So we'll see how this all shakes out. But that's my impassioned plea. If there's anyone working at the higher echelons of Eli Lilly, consider this an impassioned plea from somebody who has spent a great deal of the last couple of years of his life spreading the gospel of what these medications can do for people, encouraging people to seek out treatment for these medications if it's appropriate with their doctor. We've got them on the platform, unprecedented amounts. And I'm not the only creator who has done this. Many, many others have. Please, please come to the aid of people who are struggling to find their dose. That is my impassioned plea for this week. The shortages are super problematic for people, and the single dose vials could potentially be an answer. Now, this obviously breeds the question, well, what if it's the API, right? I think figuring out the API and making more of the API is less of a manufacturing hurdle. This is just my own personal opinion, is less of a manufacturing hurdle than is manufacturing and filling pens. I think they can figure that out. I really think this is an issue of single dose vials. I think with the scarcity in the manufacturing capacity, I think the reason that you're seeing shortages in the single dose vials overseas is simply an issue of where can that capacity make the most money now. They launched in those markets. They are there. They have a presence. People are experiencing it. The word is getting out. But there's simply more money to be made in the United States by tapping manufacturing capacity here. Release the single dose vials, please, Eli Lilly. That is my impassioned plea. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. Lots of other news going on in the world of GLP-1s. This week we heard from Fractal Health. So Fractal Health has a therapy called Rejuva that hit phase 1 trial. So we covered Rejuva about 7 months ago on the YouTube channel. And we talked about how this is a gene therapy that really increases your body's natural ability to produce GLP-1, but is a one and done therapy. Some interesting results from that phase 1 trial in rodents was that these rodents experienced a 50% reduction in their A1C in 1 month. And they also saw an 11% decrease in their weight compared to the control group of mice on semaglutide, who saw a 37% reduction in their A1C and a 2% loss of body weight. And again, this is a one and done treatment. This will be a really fascinating one to watch. You can follow them at Fractal Health, Fractyl, Fractal Health. This is a really fascinating one, the one and done treatment from Fractal Health. I will be watching this one. I don't want to be the first one to take it, but I'll definitely be following the studies closely on this one. This week, we also saw CVS Caremark add Zepbound to their formulary. Let's talk a little bit about what this means and what it does not mean. So many people have taken this to mean if they have CVS Caremark that they immediately now have access to Zepbound. That is not accurate. So what's important for people to understand here is accessibility has been expanded by the addition of Zepbound to the CVS Caremark formulary. However, your employer, if you're seeking out this medication, has to have opted in to the insurance company's obesity policy rider. Many have not. So it's important to check to see if obesity coverage is an option with your health insurance. If it's not, now's the time to start having those conversations with your employer for next year. But if you do have that obesity rider, Zepbound should be available to you through CVS Caremark now if that is your PBM without step therapy required. That is really excellent news. And finally, this week, we saw an investigation out of Virginia into the Meta platforms. And this investigation is focusing on some fake medicines that popped up on the Meta platforms, Facebook and Instagram, over the pandemic time. But lumped into this, low key, is some of the companies that are making these and advertising the sale of peptides, research grade to be specific. Although this is not an indictment at this point, it is an investigation going on with Facebook to see if there's some culpability in the sale of illegal prescription drugs on their platforms. This will be an interesting one to watch and to see how this all pans out. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being the best part of what I do at On the Pen. Join us on Thursday night, every Thursday night, on the Pen Live. It happens at 9 o'clock Central on YouTube. We also stream it to Facebook and Twitter. We hope that you'll catch that because that is where the magic happens. The community is second to none. We are excited to have community member from TikTok, Corey, on to share some of her experience, and there will be plenty to talk about in the world of GLP-1s. Until next week, thank you for being here, and we'll see you on the Pen.